No Brexit before 2022. Government drawing up EU transition plan that will last 3 years. Ministers are drawing up plans for a 3-year transitional deal with the European Union, which would mean Britain does not leave the bloc until at least 2022, according to reports today. The government is said to be resigned to more drawn-out negotiations over the future relationship between the UK and Brussels after Theresa May failed to win a majority in last month's election. According to British officials, both the Remain backing Chancellor Philip Hammond and the Leave supporting Brexit Secretary David Davis are championing a significant transitional period to give Britain breathing space. Their plan is being driven in part by the fact that the Tories do not need to call another election until 2022, and so would be able to fight the next campaign on the basis of any deal they get with Brussels. Whitehall sources said cabinet ministers want to ensure that the UK has as soft a landing as possible after Brexit, whilst delivering on pledges to leave the single market and customs union. Any such transitional measure would keep Britain at very least in the European Economic Area, EEA, but would require the acceptance of the rules of the single market, including free movement of people in return. According to a report by Bloomberg, it is Mr. Hammond and Mr. Davis, working surprisingly in tandem, who have persuaded the PM to risk the wrath of her backbench Brexiteers by pursuing such an approach. The revelations come after separate reports suggested Downing Street is prepared to accept free movement rules for up to 4 years after Brexit in order to avoid the cliff edge of a no-deal scenario. Ministers have come under increasing pressure from powerful business groups which are lobbying for a significant transitional period to allow them to adjust to new trading and immigration rules. The new Environment Secretary Michael Gove, another leading Brexit backer, looked to ease nerves today as he insisted the cabinet was united in its desire to see an orderly exit ushered in by a transitional period. In a speech he said, "As we leave the EU we will have an implementation period which will ensure we can continue to have not just access to labour but the economic stability and certainty which business requests." Mrs. May is said to have now resigned herself to the need for a transitional deal of at least a couple of years due to the overwhelming complexity of securing Britain's exit from the bloc. And that feeling is strongly echoed in Brussels, where Eurocrats have always been prepared for the fact that little progress beyond the terms of the divorce will be agreed before Article 50 expires in spring 2019. The EU Parliament's Brexit rapporteur, Guy Verhofstadt, summed up the mood amongst European figures when she said that the PM lost her mandate for an immediate hard Brexit with the shock election result. He told the House of Lords EU Committee, "I think that everyone can see that since the election in Britain there has been a lack of clarity and some doubt about what Britain's position now is. The key feeling here in the Parliament and I think in the other institutions is that the outcome of the general election was not one that supported a hard Brexit. The general feeling is that that was not the conclusion of the election." And asked whether he thought the UK would ever actually leave the EU, he refused to rule out the possibility of a Brexit U-turn, stating, "If I knew that, I would be a very rich man from predicting the future. How can you predict it?" Thanks for watching. Please like, share and don't forget to subscribe English News Hub for new excited videos.